Okay, so I took a different approach. Obviously you see all the flags. So we live one city over from the assassination of Charlie Kirk that just happened yesterday. And so I think our city has placed flags, everywhere in support of him and his family during this time. So I don't want to really touch on that just because, I just have a lot of thoughts and weird thoughts and feelings about the whole thing, but I did want it to relate to that and what that represents. And I think that everyone, at least that is American, can at least, in my opinion, unite and agree on this. So I reached out to ChatGPT and I was like, okay, come up with a word that kind of characterizes the United States. And Chatty came up with the word dynamism. And dynamism is defined, dynamism, let's see. I'll do it with the flag. There we go. Dynamism. Yeah, that's good. Dynamism. It defines a constant motion, reinvention, creation, progress, or innovation for some kind of entity. Dyna means power, like dynamo or dynamic. And I believe it comes from Greek, dynos, which again means power. Ism is is just being in the state of that. So in a state of constant motion, invention, innovation, progress, adaptability, as a characteristic for the United States. And I genuinely resonate with that very deeply. My entire profession has been built around these core concepts: reinvention, innovation, adaptability, and a constant state of forward motion or momentum. But I look back on even just the founding fathers and the characteristics of the United States, and you could say that all of those that were immigrants and migrated outside of the US and then populated the 13 colonies, and then eventually we declared our independence and became, the nation that we are now, they were all seeking that same thing. They were wanting to reinvent their lives. They were wanting to innovate or to find a need in a market, a solution that would solve a need in the market. Good morning. And in hopes of, expressing that through a lifestyle and having it be something that people would be willing to pay for. And at that time, there wasn't religious freedom, or at least as much as was needed. There wasn't really freedom in the sense, in a lot of different contexts: slavery, religion, thought, freedom of being able to speak freely. There's just a lot of freedoms that were taken, and that weren't freely given, you could say. And I think people were trying to escape that, especially in Europe, and wanting to reinvent their lives, reinvent their destinies, innovate upon the situation that they had in hand, and migrate over to what is now the United States, which, as artificial intelligence or a language learning model would state, is an embodiment of innovation, reinvention, motion, progress, and adaptability. And I think that is, one of the reasons that I love and I am so proud to be an American, is not to choose one side or one party. It's just more of I love what this country originally represents, and I think it strives to continue representing. Good morning. Because who was it? Charles Darwin that said, the animal or the instinct or the animal, I believe he said, the animal by which thrives is not the strongest, the fittest, or the fastest, it's the one that has the highest aptitude for adaptability. Oh, I would agree with that. And I think a lot of that plays, and it connects to what I do for a living. And so I feel that anytime that I see the flag, I resonate with it, because for me, what the flag is what it's supposed to represent, or what it's striving to embody or symbolize for those that call themselves citizens of it, which in this case is dynamism. It's being in a constant motion or constant state of forward motion, momentum, reinvention, invention, innovation, and adaptability. And I would also say that, if I were to give like a really, really quick story, because I don't want this to go too long, but you know me, I take forever talking all the time, always. It's the moments where I have seen the biggest change in my life was when I was humble and I was willing to be molded and adaptable, and having a sense of purpose in one way, shape, or form, but being willing to be molded with whatever's going around and adapting accordingly, while still keeping my eye on the prize, while still focusing on the end result, but realizing look, there's multiple ways to skin a cat. There's an infinite amount of ways that I could still reach my goal. And it's really going to depend on my propensity to adapt and reinvent myself, innovate, but constantly remain in a state of forward motion towards that definite end. And whenever I begin to slow down, things begin to get difficult. It feels like it's when I begin to rest on my laurels. I'm not remaining humble and malleable, while at the same time keeping a definite end in my mind. Like, the final destination is over there. Okay, there's an infinite amount of ways to get there, and so just keep that end goal in mind, but be constantly adaptable, reinventing yourself, innovating in a constant state of forward motion. Sometimes you're going a little slower than before. Other times you're going so fast it feels like you're gonna break your neck, or breakneck speed. But if you always have your goal in mind with a constant sense of willingness of being humble, good morning, or adaptable, I think you can overcome the challenge and actually have that transform you and redefine you, reinvent you as you pursue that end goal. So, dynamism.